Four bodies were found stacked in a barn, and the killer was inside the house. But this story isn't about that case. This story is about a girl who stepped into an elevator, pressed every single button except one, and was never seen alive again. And later, I will show you the most disturbing theory about why the hotel staff refused to search the water tank for 8 days. You think you know Elisa Sam case? You don't. Not like this. Let me tell you. Take you back to January 26, 2013. Elisa Sam was 21 years old, a Canadian student, quiet, thoughtful. She kept a blog about books and dreams. She traveled alone because she said she needed to prove to herself that she could exist in the world without permission. She checked into the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. At first, it didn't seem like a big deal. The Cecil wasn't a 5-star resort. It was a flop house for transits, a last-stop motel for people who had fallen through the cracks. But Elisa wasn't afraid of the crack. She was young, adventurous. She made a video of herself dancing in her room, smiling. That was January 26. 3 days later, she vanished. No checkout, no phone call, no note. The hotel staff didn't report her missing. Her parents did. From Canada. That should have been the first warning. But wait, let me rewind. Because the elevator footage, that's where the story breaks open. February 1st, 2 o'clock a.m. The elevator door opens on the 4th floor. Elisa walks in. She leans against the panel and presses every button in a row, top to bottom, every floor. Then she steps back to the corner. The door stays open. She peeks out, left, right. She ducks back in, hides behind the door frame. She waves her hands like she's talking to someone outside, but the hallway is empty. She steps out, tries to vanish behind the wall, then she returns, presses more button. The door still won't close. And here's the detail that breaks people. She looks directly at the camera, not a glance, a full, frozen stare. Then she leaves the elevator for the last time. The door closed behind her. She's never seen on any camera in the hotel again. So where did she go? Let me tell you about the layout because this matters. The Cecil has 14 floors. The elevator stops at 14, but the water tank are on the roof above 15th floor. You need a maintenance key. You need to climb a ladder. You need a cross to a locked door with an alarm that in theory should trigger if open. Now here's the open loop I promised you. The hotel had a history of suicides, murders, and serial killers. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, stayed there. Jack Unterweger strangled woman there. But here is Elisa's behavior in that elevator. It didn't look like fear. It looked like hiding. And later investigators found something impossible. But I'm getting ahead of myself. For 8 days, nobody searched for Elisa. Her parents called every day. The hotel manager told them she probably just ran off with friends. Meanwhile, guests on low floors began complaining about the water. Low pressure, strange taste, dark color. Someone said it smelled like death. The maintenance worker went to the roof on February 19th. He checked the water tanks, all full of them. He looked in the first tray, nothing, then opened the fourth. He saw a body floating face up, clothed, barefoot, submerged over a week. It was Elisa, but here is the first impossible fact. She was found in a tank that required the ladder to reach. No ladder was found nearby. No furniture was moved. No chair, no box, nothing to stand on. The tank lid was closed. She weighed 105 pounds. The lid weighs 20 pounds. She could have closed it from inside, technically, but why? And how did she get past the locked roof door without triggering the alarm? The alarm was working when the police tested it later, so either Elisa had a key she didn't possess, or someone else opened that door. Now, let me tighten the tension because this is where most retelling lose you. They say mental illness and move on, but watch, Elisa had bipolar disorder. She took medications for it. Her family confirmed she was stable before the trip, but here's what they don't tell you. The elevator footage shows her pressing buttons in a pattern, every floor except the 14th button, the floor she was already on. Psychologists later noted that this specific pattern, press up but your own, is sometimes seen in patients experiencing a focused state, a disorganized attempt to escape a location that feels threatening. But threatening for what? 2 other guests checked out on February 1st. The same day Elisa vanished, one of them told police they heard a woman crying in the walls at 3 a.m. The hotel had stairwells, service elevators, a basement tunnel connecting to the next building. Elisa could have walked out the front door at any time. She didn't. So here is the theory I teased, the disturbing one. Some investigators believe someone followed Elisa into the elevator, not a ghost, a person, a guest, a staff member, someone who knew the hotel's building spot. The footage shows her hiding behind the door, not from nothing, from someone just outside frame, someone she didn't want to see her. She waves her hand, not erratically, desperately, like she is signaling, "Go away." The doors finally close. She leaves and then no footage. Why? Because there are no cameras in the stairwells, no cameras on the roof, no cameras in the service elevator. Someone who worked there could know that. The autopsy revealed a major trauma, no stab wounds, no blunt force. The cause of death was listed as accidental drowning with bipolar disorder as a contributing factor. But here's the detail that keeps this case open in my mind. Her lungs contained water from the tank, but her stomach was empty, no water swallowed. That means she was alive when she entered the water. She didn't struggle enough to swallow. Seduction, fear, or something else. The toxicologist screen came back clean for drugs. No alcohol, no sedative, just her prescribed medication. So she climbed the ladder with no ladder, opened the locked door with no keys, entered the dark water tank, closed the lid on herself, and then drowned without fighting. Does that sound like a single person story to you? Here is the loop I opened at the beginning. The reason the hotel staff didn't start for her. The Cecil Hotel had a policy. If a guest missed checkout, they were given a 24-hour grace period. Then their room was cleared. But Elisa's room was never cleared because her key card was found in the room, inside the locked suitcase, under the bed. She left the room. She took nothing, not her phone, not her wallet, not her shoes, and then she disappeared into a building that had 700 rooms, 18 floors, and a rooftop that no guest could access without a key. But someone could access it, a maintenance worker, a security guard, a long-term resident with a corporate master key. The case was closed in 2013, officially accident, mental health episode, but the lab detective who worked the case later gave an interview. He said, and I'm quoting directly, "I believe it was a foul play, but we couldn't prove it, so we closed it." That's the line that haunts me. Not the footage, not the tank, not the ladder. The fact that someone, maybe a stranger, maybe a staff member, maybe someone who is still working in a hotel right now, knew exactly where the cameras weren't looking. So the question is, do you think Elisa Sam climbed into that tank alone? Or do you think someone helped her and then walked back down the stairs and checked out the next morning while the guests below drank the water for 8 days?